Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Tweak, the admin here at Beneath the Tangles, and I'm super happy to have ADR directors Caitlin Glass and Shawn Gann with me. Thank you guys for spending time with us.
You're welcome. Happy to be
Hello.
here.
Happy.
Awesome. Well, we're going to talk about one of Funimation's brand new releases, Appare-Ranman, which was produced by PA Works. Caitlin is doing the direction for the show, and Shawn is the assistant director. And I'm a big fan of PA Works, so I was really excited about this series. And I watched the first episode of the show, and it was so good. So I'm really excited to talk to you about it. And, in fact, we should probably start there. And I wonder if Caitlin, if you could tell everyone a little bit about the series.
Absolutely. So the series takes place around the turn of the 20th century and in America, which is pretty cool. It's nice to see an anime that takes place in our home country. But the main characters are Japanese, and one is a very bohemian sort of genius engineer, and the other is a samurai. And they end up in America and need to find their way back to Japan. And the way to do that is if they can win this transcontinental car race that they enter. And along the way, they make some friends by way of a French aristocrat race car driver, a couple of outlaws.
Native American child.
Yeah, Native American child.
Yeah.
It's really colorful and wonderful with an amazing soundtrack and beautiful, beautiful animation. I expect nothing less from PA Works, of course. You're a huge PA Works fan, so am I. They are my favorite animation studio, and I think this show has solidified that for me. So
Yeah, the music especially gets commentary all the time. I mean, even when we're just talking to our peers and, they're just commenting on what we're doing, they're like, man, that music is out of control. I mean, they just, they really hone in on it. And I really appreciate that about the show. It kind of elevates it, I think, to another level as far as just a beautiful anime, but now beautiful anime with great music.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The music is great. The animation is great. There's so much colorful show, and I do love that it's in that historic setting. I mean, that's that's a little bit unique, and you kind of mentioned, Caitlin, that you kind of have a diverse cast there. We're in America. We've got a number of different types of people here. People from Japan, other Americans, people from all over the world. And I also noticed that when the cast was announced, that there's a lot of diversity there as well. And so I wonder if you could kind of tell us a little bit about the casting process for this series, and maybe a little bit about the cast themselves.
Sure. So we worked on some auditions together. Shawn was a great help. I honestly could not have cast this without him. Sent out the sides to, we cast a wide net and really also reached out to people that had not worked for Funimation very much, or maybe not at all,
Right.
in some cases. And it was really nice to hear voices that we hadn't heard. Some folks were voice actors that have worked for other studios, but not for Funimation before. Others we know from our involvement in theater in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we had some things that we were specific about for particular characters. There's one of the racers, Xiaolan, is Chinese American. So we at least wanted an Asian actress for that role. And for Hototo, we already mentioned there's a Native American character. We reached out, we just wanted actors of color to read for this role. And if they happen to be Native, that would be a plus. But so long as it was an actor of color, that really mattered. Naturally, the character of TJ, who's a Black character, we wanted a Black actor. We just wanted to be very aware of representation in this show and in this time. But that's not something that is new to me just for this show.
Caitlin has a great reputation within the community of being very aware of the types of shows she's doing and being aware of the talent that's available to her and not getting honed in on, the reliables or the people that often the names are known. She likes to mix those two together. Radiant, especially, which is her last big project, has just a wide varying range of ethnicities and, gender fluid and just people all over the place. Astra Lost in Space had a non-binary trans character in there. but she also was very aware of all the other characters and just being thoughtful to the talent that's available to her. And she's been doing that for a very long time. Garo is a good example of that. And I think that it's not a matter of openly or just pushing to do it. It's being conscientious of the people that are around her and giving them that platform to be just as great as they are. They're already great, you know, but we want to get that out there and let people know about it. And sometimes it scares people to let them do that. I am one of those people sometimes that, you know, she brings along for the ride, and I am Filipino, so I appreciate, you know, having that representation. And we have, you know, several Filipinos within our VO community, and Rico Fajardo being one of the most notable ones amongst us, and you know, Don Michelle.
For me, I just want everyone to feel that they have a place at the table, because they do. And I want them to know, as actors and as part of my community, as an actor, that they are a part of it. You know, I think that's really important. And in addition to that, I want the shows that I direct to sound like the people who watch them. And when I go to anime conventions and meet all of the fans, they're all very different. It's the most diverse group of people you can find. So I feel like the shows I direct, I want them to sound like the people who watch them.
Yeah. And it's great to have that excitement from them as well. And even from our community of VO actors, is just like, when we put out the cast announcement for this show, people were just flipping their lids about, you know, the main cast of characters. I mean, they overwhelmingly were, you know,
excited to hear them. Yeah.
And there were, you know, most of them were people of color, or you know, women in roles that a boy could do. It was awesome. It was awesome, and there was a lot of excitement and a lot of positivity. And those are the things that make us feel good about what we're doing, because we know we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, especially when it's actors that I've been working with for a long time, whether it's in stuff that I'm directing or even on the stage, or Shawn has been in some plays with these folks. So like Lee George plays Appare, and I first met Lee when we did Othello together on stage here for Shakespeare Dallas a couple years ago, and brought him in on Free. Season 3 of that. And I've known Yvonne since Yvonne plays Kosame, the other lead. I cast him in Garo in my first year as a salary director at Funimation. So I've been working with him for 5+ years. And he was in Radiant also. Yeah. He's actually been in almost everything I've directed. I was thinking about it the other day. Talent
transcends the part.
It does.
And they're lovely people. And you know, they have their opportunities now, and I'm happy for them.
And now they're in lead roles, which means that other directors get to hear more of them, so it could lead to more work for them, and fans get to know of them too, and then explore the other things that they've been in. Sometimes it takes a show that's big enough to put an actor on someone's radar, and then fans could go look them up and be like, oh my gosh, look at all of these credits that they have. So they aren't brand new. I just didn't know about them. So that's the goal. Sort of a rambling answer, but
we just get excited because you know, we love these people and their talent, and there's a unique quality to the way they perform and to the way they speak and the way they act, and that's something you want to highlight and showcase. It's there's many talented voiceover performers and performers in the world that are Caucasian, and I don't deny how great they are.
Yeah.
Here's one right here. They're great. But there are certain elements and certain qualities to performers that you can't get if you are not of, you know, that ethnicity, or if you are not gay, or if you are not, you know, non-binary. There's elements of living it that speak and are heard a little more clearly through the character when you have somebody that represents it in its place.
Yeah, and speaking to that, because you had asked what is the casting process, and we didn't really talk about the process. We just started talking about the cast. Sorry, guys. Something that Shawn and I knew from the beginning is that we wanted Appare and Kosame to be actors of color, of whatever ethnicity, because they needed to sound like people in a country where they didn't exactly, I don't like this word, belong. so to speak, fit it. We just wanted them to stand apart. There's something that's interesting about this story that is different from other anime that have been placed in America, is that the show doesn't deal at all with the fact that these guys are foreigners. And when they show up, everybody just speaks the same language and it's fine. And I went, well, you know, that's okay, because there's always that awkward thing when you have to adapt an episode of anime where in Japanese they were all trying to speak English or trying to speak the same language, and it's always so weird and hard to adapt. So in this story, they just toss that out the window. You just suspend your disbelief. They show up in America and everybody speaks the same language. So then the question is, how do we show that these two characters, and then also this Chinese American and also this Native American, how do we show that they're different from everybody else? So by casting Lee and Yvonne, nobody sounds like them.
No.
And it makes them different. There's some other choices we made along the way with words they use and etc. But we can go into that some other time.
I think it gives, especially in Yvonne's situation, he is Hispanic and he has a very kind of notable accent. He's very good at portraying different timbres of his voice and all this other stuff. But when he speaks, there's this element of something's just not quite amiss amongst people within this country. It makes him sound like an outsider, especially amongst the cast that's built up in, you know, Los Angeles and throughout the Americas as they're racing.
Thank you. You know, I love all the thought that goes into, you know, the casting process and getting the right people in place. And what's to me, what really stood out even from the first episode is how those choices add this additional layer to the, you know, the anime, where who you're picking, you know, adds something to the story that you won't necessarily hear in the original Japanese language. And I love that you can have an entirely different experience and a very rich experience just from the choices you make in casting. So that's super exciting. And, you know, I'm glad to hear all the choices that you all made. And you know, you know, Caitlin mentioned that you helped a little bit in the casting process, Shawn, but, you know, that got me to thinking, I don't know a lot about the ADR process in general, but I kind of get, I mean, even those of us who don't know a lot about it probably could get an idea of what the director does, but I have no idea what an assistant director does. So can you tell me what you do?
Sure. I think Caitlin and I have a more extensive relationship when it comes to the assistant and director position. One that I helped build a huge kind of library of people to cast from. And I had a lot of input as to what I thought about them and how they fit, and where we could place, you know, certain talent, and where they might be even best reserved later in the story.
Yeah, I just want to interrupt and say that Shawn has been, like, you're my oldest friend. We've been friends for 20 years. Yeah. So we have a good rapport with one another and a strong trust that's built between one another, and our opinions that we each have, we can trust those or question those very freely. And that really helps. And all the time that I spent doing so much anime over the last 17 years, Shawn's been very busy in the theater community. So he knows all kinds of people that I didn't know because I'm doing anime all day. So I could poke him and I'm like, who do you know that's like this? I need people like that. But anyway, okay, back to you and what your tasks are.
And before it was even an official capacity, these were things that she would, you know, ping me about. And as I, because actually I've been in and out of Funimation for a very long time, but it's only been in the last 5-6 years that I've really pushed to be a more serious contributor to Funimation, because I was in Oran back in the day.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I mean, I did bits and stuff way back in the day, but I thought I would be a paid performing theatrical, you know, thespian. So I put aside all film and voiceover stuff to do that. Now that I've decided that I can do all of it, then I came back to it. But from a practical standpoint, whenever Caitlin has too much work on her plate, she's got several shows that she works on, and she has to do reviews for them. She has to observe the work that they've done on them, and sometimes do rewrites, sometimes revisit, you know, home DVD and Blu-ray to make corrections and pickups. Well, I'm there to do the exact same job she normally does as a director, but when she doesn't have, you know, the capacity to do so. Also, I have a deep kind of knowledge of the show. So whenever I step into it, there's an understanding of what we're talking about and what we're doing. So I fill in a role that of trust, that the performances and what we record are going to be things that she would have gotten. I also do a lot of the kind of, practical research of like, what's coming up and what have we changed in the script? Who can we still apply throughout the show? It's a lot. It's what you would imagine any assistant would be doing in this situation, except that I have some artistic input into what's happening.
Yeah, like while I'm busy, as Shawn mentioned, I do multiple shows at once. So right now I'm directing Fruits Basket and Appare at the same time. And in the meantime, Fruits Basket and previous shows will come back for home video. So while I'm at home doing reviews, like he said, he can just do the directing. He does my day job for me. And casting isn't something that we only do at the beginning. Like we'll cast the primary actors, but as the show progresses, there are episodics that come along. So I may, in my mind, be like, oh, we have to cast someone in episode 8, but I don't have time to think about that right now. So I can just text Shawn and be like, hey, send me a short list of who we could possibly get to play so-and-so. And he'll go back through all of the auditions that we received and then go, hey, listen to these 5 guys. And we'll make a decision from there. So it's like a partnership.
That's really interesting. I wonder about so Shawn, you do a lot of the research and when Caitlin asks about a certain episode, you're already on top of it and know how to address whatever issues or whatever task is before you. This sounds probably like a convention goer question asking the talent, but I'm interested, and I kind of want to know. And I've talked to Caitlin a little bit about this, but I kind of want to know how, if Shawn, if you're an anime fan, and how you can enjoy anime when you are day in, day out getting into the minutia of these series. How do you kind of keep that fan life alive if there is any of that?
Right. I am a fan. I grew up in Japan and Korea. I was born in the Philippines, so anime was a regular part of my upbringing as far as what was available to me. So I have fandoms, and some of the regular ones. I'm a huge, Dragon Ball Z, Super, and I love Cowboy Bebop. So I mean, all the staples are there.
We used to watch Dragon Ball together in college. Just wanted to throw that out.
That's where it all started.
But I am very fortunate to this point as far as assisting Caitlin. She's taken on shows that have heart, that are very interesting. I'd like to use Fruits Basket as an example, because I read the manga for everything that we try to do, and if it's available, obviously. And that's one of those shows that had had a whole season, an old version of it that I could go back and watch, and we had a lot of the performers from that show up for this one as well. Radiant, Garo, Fairygon, another PA Works.
Another PA Works.
The shows are all very interesting, and so when you dig into the work and you dig into the story and you dig into the hierarchy of the characters, it all keeps you going. I don't get bored with it. As a performer, it doesn't matter to me what the show is, because I have so little time to kind of like dwell in it. I go into the booth, I do it, it's interesting, and then I have to let it go. And if I really, really want to pick it back up, or if I have an ongoing part, maybe I can see it later, when it's been released, or kind of follow up on it for reference. But anime is an interesting thing, that it moves so fast, and the shows that Caitlin picks are so good that my interest has been piqued the whole time.
It definitely helps when, as you mentioned, when those shows have heart, that you can kind of get attached to the characters in this. And that's certainly the case with, I think, virtually every PA Works production. And
Yes.
And I want to point that back at you, Caitlin. How excited are you to do another PA Works series?
So excited. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this or not, but at Funimation, when we find out what we've acquired for the coming season, the directors are just kind of given this list of here's all the shows. What are you interested in? And I'm always looking for the PA Works show, always, if there is one. And if there is one, I've known about it since they announced it. So I'm just hoping, like I'm sitting there with fingers crossed that we're going to license this show. And then it always goes on the top of my short list. And I always remind the producers, this is my favorite studio. Please let me direct this. They're probably tired of hearing it by now. But the reason I love them so much is their ability to communicate the heart of humanity in their stories. And I feel, you know, there's some times when they can get bogged down in some of the mundane things that they like to portray in their anime, because they do like to show like the daily life of characters often. But I can appreciate the fact, I can just imagine them at their studio really pouring their hearts even into this very, what to us might seem boring aspect of something. Like back in Fairy Gone, they really went into detail about how these artificial fairy soldiers work. And I'm like, wow, why are they going on and on about this? But look at this really cool animation. So, okay.
Yeah.
And I also love how from show to show, so I've done, of their shows, I've done Sakura Quest and Fairy Gone, and now Appare-Ranman. But other ones that I love are like Shirobako. Every single one of these shows. I also love the movie they did, Makia, When the Promised Flower Blooms. God, so beautiful. Each and every one of them has a very different look to it, very different character designs and overall style, yet their ability to portray human emotion is second to none, for real. I really, really feel that out of all the anime I've worked on as an actor and as a director. They are just stellar. They're so, so good at it.
It helps deliver more for your investment, I think, because you know you can get into like shonens especially, and you get impatient with the arcs that are happening, and you're like, come on, move faster, get to this, get to this, get to this. But I don't feel that way watching a PA Works. When they take time to kind of like delve into what their, you know, mundane lifestyle is, I suddenly am like, wow, that I didn't know that about that character.
It kind of feels
kind of nice.
Makes them a little more human
exactly.
in that regard. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. They do. It kind of feels like family a little bit. You know, you mentioned Shirobako, and as soon as I finished that series, what I was thinking was, man, I want to see these people every day. You know, I can't believe it's over. What am I going to do now? You know, so that kind of day to day, even if it does feel a little boring or a little, you know, whatever the case may be, it's life, you know? So,
and
yeah.
their stories seem to focus on, even if it's just inadvertently, on found families, which is really neat.
That's good. Yeah.
Definitely in Appare, you'll see it as the story progresses. These two guys who only barely knew each other now become brothers in essence, and all the people that they race with become part of their family. But the same can be said of the characters in Fairy Gone and also in Sakura Quest. In Sakura Quest, you follow them for an entire year of their lives. And I think that anime fans in particular can relate to the experience of found families, because to be an anime fan is to choose your family amongst that fandom, because so often from the anime fans that I meet, people don't understand them and the thing that they are into. You know, maybe they're lucky and they do have parents that are really into it, or a sibling that's really into it, but a lot of the time they're misunderstood for being into this crazy Naruto, Dragon Ball world. But they love it unabashedly, and they find friends at conventions, and that's their found family. And I see that in all of PA Works shows.
And their involvement online now, because of con shortage and what they have to do, they're pressed for that investment, and they really kind of dive deep into it is when it's available to them. I mean, any virtual con has had massive like participation, and I think it's created a whole new level of relationship between the artist and the fans also, because they're getting to have more one-on-ones and being able to spread out, you know, these questions, and also see the VOs interact with each other virtually and from their homes. You know, it's interesting.
I think that's actually a really nice way to end the conversation. So, but just real quickly back to Appare-Ranman. How can we watch the dub that y'all are working on?
Okay, you can watch it streaming on Funimation right now. As far as I know, episodes will come out every Friday. Episode 1 is currently available. Right. Episode 2 will be coming out tomorrow. I don't know when this interview will air.
Right. We'll probably have 3 or 4 or 5 episodes by the time.
That's fine. That's fine. So every Friday is the goal. If you just can't wait for the dub, I think the entire series is available in Japanese on Funimation.
By Friday.
By Friday.
Yeah, the last episode's coming out with, episode 13 is coming out with episode 2 on Friday.
Yeah, and you can watch things on Funimation without a subscription. You'll just watch it with ads. So please watch it and support this wonderful cast.
Spread the word, yeah. I mean, it as its own standalone product deserves your love, and just listen to kind of the different nuances of the actors that are in it. It is something you haven't heard, and I really enjoy that. It's music to my ears, and it's a new tune. I love it.
Very cool. Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm super excited to watch the rest of the series as you all are producing it. And, you know, if anyone out there wants to see what you are doing besides this series, I guess probably the best way is to check out what you're doing on Twitter. Shawn, you are at Ready Kafka. Is that right? Like Kafka, the writer, Kafka. There we go. And Caitlin is Caitlin's Voice, also on Instagram. I know that. So yeah, please, everyone out there, go follow them. Go watch this on Funimation. You're going to love the show. And thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you two for dropping by and talking to me about this passion you have. And I'm so excited. So thank you, everyone. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.